when you think about dating, you're thinking about the characteristics that make somebody a great partner. When you're looking at a donor, you're thinking about the characteristics that make somebody a great human that you want to raise. And I had a hard time letting go of there's only one. There's only one set of DNA that could possibly be my future child's DNA. Can you talk to us about that process a little bit? And then we'll talk about some of the emotional stuff.
Yeah, because I think that, sometimes a given that we always are looking for when we're helping any intended parent is we're looking to make sure that, what we see, the health background, looks normal, nothing sort of glaring, such as parents that died very young or cancer that, occurred in the family's background, not necessarily grandparents, because that's sort of what happens as we get older. Just trying to make sure that the health backgrounds look reasonable and good. The donor is not a smoker, that, all the things that you kind of want to make sure, because like those would be things that we would eliminate and not send that candidate on. And the donor is going to need to go through a psychological evaluation because you want to make sure that she really understands what she's getting into and that she's stable. Because obviously no one wants to pick the donor that like, oh, wow, look, she's schizophrenic. Not a good thing. So there are,
and in fact, there's a lot of pushback in the sperm industry around people that later discovered that they were schizophrenic after donating.
Yeah.
You see that a lot in the news. Okay, so we were talking about the things that you're screening for, or the health, the wellness of the particular donor, sperm, egg, or surrogate. I guess more we're talking about sperm and egg at this point. How do you advise clients to think about the emotional component? Should they only care about the medical, or what other things should somebody who's a prospective parent looking for a donor consider in their search?
Well, I would say that doctors might say just look at the medical part, but not necessarily all of them, of course. But what people mostly are wanting to find is they want to find familiarity. They want to find someone that they feel like they can relate to. And it could be a lot of different things. But there are, and I'd say you get less information, as you probably know, looking for a sperm donor quite often. But there's still, even there are things you may say, because sometimes they have recordings, you may say, oh, I like the way he sounds. I like how he answered that question. There's something that you just kind of, you want to be able to relate to your donor. Same thing when it comes to egg donation. There's often something that it could be a physical thing. It could be something they wrote about, maybe what they studied in school. But usually there's something that people are looking for relatability. There's no guarantee you're going to get these characteristics in your future child. But it's really hard to let go of, it's not all of your genetics, or, in your case, you're not partnered. So it's sort of like, who do you feel comfortable saying like, okay, I'm going to take a chance on this, because you're not in love with the sperm donor, and I don't fall in love with the egg donor either, don't fall in love, because you may have to let go. And it can be really hard if you've got your heart set on one particular person and things fall apart. And it's just human nature. It happens. But my advice is to kind of, hold on loosely, because there can be things that come up that mean you can't go forward. But I think that people often are looking for, if intelligence and education is a huge thing in one's family, that can be like, that's their tribe. That's what they're looking for. Yeah. It doesn't mean that your child's going to be, any smarter or whatever, but it's just, there's nurture versus nature. There's so many different factors, but it's what allows some people to feel more comfortable with their decision and their choice.
Hi, I hope you loved this little excerpt of Stork'd, the podcast where we talk about all things family building and families. This was a little taste of the bigger episode. We call it a Stork'd Munchkin. If you love what you heard, I highly encourage you to check out the full episode wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find it on the Stork'd website at storkdpodcast.com. If you're in the process of building your own family or exploring what family means to you, and you want to stay up to date on all relevant topics related to family building, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. It's called Let's Start a Family, and it is found on Substack. Happy listening.